All right. So we have a few half a dozen people on, and I'm sure others will join if they can. So let me start off by wishing everybody a great Labor Day weekend coming up here. So today is Saturday, so we got 3 whole days ahead of us. Who's cooking barbecue the next 3 days?
Hey there. Ribs.
Okay. Anyone else?
I'll just be doing the bacon smoke either tomorrow or Monday, one of the two.
When you say bacon smoke, you mean you want a low smoke or you want a hot smoke?
No, I'm just going to low smoke it just to, I cook it to like 150, 155, and then I just put it in the refrigerator and then slice it the next day.
Oh, wow. Wonderful. So what do you do, make BLTs with it?
Not that I'm not a big fan of BLTs. I just never make them, but I usually use them for breakfast. I use them in eggs or in any kind of Mexican style, breakfast. It's just delicious.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I have a couple of poached, like soft poached egg sitting on top. When you cut into it, gosh. The egg kind of like spreads all over like lava onto your.
Yeah, absolutely. Even sometimes, like the other day, I was just for lunch. I'm a teacher and I'm teaching from home here, and my wife is in the office, and I'm teaching from the kitchen, and I was just like, we had some leftover biscuits, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make myself some egg with bacon, and it's not just to cut it up into little pieces, and it's just something that I crave every once in a while. So it's
you can't go wrong
nice
with that.
To have
man.
that in biscuits. Yeah,
we can't go wrong with that here.
But it was time for me to make some because I had made some once, and then I did it for my parents and my in-laws, but we had already had like 2 big packs frozen, store-bought in the freezer. So we finally ran out. So it was time to make some.
Great. So do you do it all the time or some of the time?
Well, I started doing this and I think the first one I did was in maybe February. And so I've done 1 for me, 2 for my parents, 1 for my in-laws. And then if the weather holds up tomorrow or Monday, I'm going to do 2, 1 for me and my in-laws have another one going. So that's the plan.
Great.
And everybody really likes it. It's like, oh my gosh, it's just knowing that, it was made at home and you slice it and, it's just a different experience, and it's really, really nice.
Great. Anyone else cooking besides?
Yeah, I got a brisket on right now, Fernando.
And 15-pound, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you plan to do with the brisket?
Sandwich.
For your family? Or are you doing a party or are you just doing it for yourself?
I got my wife's family coming over tomorrow and, just to make sandwiches with it. Then we'll use the leftovers for breakfast.
Yeah, what do you call everybody's been asked to be extra careful, right? We've been hearing all these people, even the Rock, Dwayne Johnson got COVID.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, in a way, you want to hang out with family, but at the same time, you don't want to get, the elderly folks ill.
Right.
So I think my family is going to be doing, mostly Zoom this weekend because I have some elderly folks who we don't want to get near because you never know, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Did anybody have trouble getting COVID test?
No, I haven't had to have that.
Yeah, in LA, it's really improved now. So you sign up online the day before, and the next day you just drive to a community center, and then it's like literally like 3 minutes, and they do the test, and then I got my results, and the very next day I was shocked. I took the test yesterday at noon. I got my test this morning at 6 a.m. So wow, I thought man, California's really got their act together. Because the only way you can know is if you get tested, right?
That's right.
All right. How many of you know what Birria taco is?
I do.
Okay. So anybody on this call from Jalisco?
No.
No? Okay. So
I've been there, but and I've had them, but it's been a while. It's not something that I usually make at home. Yeah,
it's a special occasion taco, and you have the consomme, and I think the consomme is what makes it special, right? It's kind of like like a French dip, but Mexican style, like French dip, where you cook it and then you dip the whole taco into the consomme, and then you kind of eat and make a huge mess of your face. And maybe that's why I like it, because it's not the ordinary taco. We have a lot of good taquerias and taco places in LA, and Birria is one of my favorites. There's a famous Birria restaurant, food truck in East LA. So sometimes at work, right, we head out there for lunch. I work in downtown LA. So Mr. Beans wants to come out. Hey, Mr. Beans, say hi to everybody. He smells blank steak. That's why he's come out.
Is where anybody's from barbacoa a big thing? Like down here in South Texas, it's like there are places making barbacoa all the time, and that's kind of on my list. I want to make some beef cheek and smoke it myself. That's really exciting me right now. So I need to go buy some and try that.
Yeah, you have a lot of I guess grocery stores where you can already buy already marinated, right?
Yeah, I know. I haven't really looked, but I've talked to my parents and several other people, and you can get it like at the local HEB, which is a grocery store chain here in Texas, or Sam's Club has them also. So it's just a matter of buying it, cleaning it up, and then just putting it on the smoker. But many people don't do that. I mean, I can drive like less than 5 minutes away and find 3 places that are selling it in the morning. So obviously, not, most of them aren't smoked. Most people just do it in the oven, so it's not exactly the same.
Why bother? Right? I mean, you can get a really good one, right, without having to spend too much time cooking it yourself.
Yeah, but I think those of us who are in here, kind of enjoy it. It's just the process and knowing that you kind of did it and all that. That's kind of fun. But
we just need an excuse, right? You just need an excuse.
Right. Exactly. And there's a place down here. I forgot the place. It was on recognized, I don't know, nationally or something like that. This guy, he's in the southern part of Brownsville, and he actually he still has permission from the city to cook barbacoa in the ground, like he does it pit smoked in the ground.
Old school style.
Yeah, old school. And I mean, that place has a line every weekend. It's just crazy full all the time.
Hey, can you guys see that? Birria style. I'll make it one with cheese and one without cheese. I guess what I've been told is that if you toast it until it's crispy, it's called a vampiro. We'll make a regular one first. So while we're doing this, if you guys have any burning questions, please ask away. I want to make sure all my Patreon friends, are able to get ready for the big weekend here. If you're cooking any particular kind of meat, you ran out of ideas to cook or whatever it is, ask away. Well, I can multitask. I can do this. It's so good, man. Beef shank meat.
I did have a little bit more of a question. I know I asked you via message about the brisket flat, and really it's my parents are making it, and my dad's I sold him one of my pellet grills, and he's kind of getting into doing a few things, but they want it kind of like fork tender. Is there any like worry that maybe I should foil it earlier or something like that to not lose the juices, or I don't know, I've never done a flat, so I'm just trying to help out my parents and
the flat
make
is
it not real dry.
The flat is very similar to a regular full packer, so you just need to make sure that you don't overcook it. The flat also tends to be a little bit drier because do you have a fat cap on your flat? Is the fat cap on?
I don't know. I just saw the top of it. It was in a bag, and my mom didn't know what kind of brisket she had bought. I asked her, was it a point or was it a flat? She's like, I don't know. So I just looked through the bag. So I don't know if it has a fat cap on it or not. I'll have to ask. Yeah.
So the idea is that if you have a flat, you just have to cook it a little bit more carefully. It's not as forgiving as the whole packer.
So maybe a lower temperature would be better, like maybe 225 or 250?
For a flat, I think 250, 225 is good. I like low and slow, and I find that always works out better.
Yeah, that was my initial thinking. I'm thinking, you don't want the heat to be too high because then it's just really going to dry it. And if you're looking for somewhat of a crust, then if the temperature is too high, you're just going to dry it. And yeah, it's going to look great, but then it's going to be dry at the end, even if you foil it and do all that. So thanks for the tips.
So yeah, what I call is cook it carefully. You follow exactly what I taught you. I think you'll be fine because it's going to be pretty good eating flat. I don't know if you heard there's a contest in Texas called IBCA.
Yeah, I've
so
heard
IBCA, of it. They cook only brisket flats, so they don't do with the point muscle.
Harry, I got a question. So I'm doing my brisket at 270 full packer. Should I lower the temp a little, or is 270 fine?
Depends on your airflow. So like I always tell you guys, right? Don't kind of cook like autopilot because you want to make sure that the other variables are accounted for. So when you cook brisket, right? You guys know I've told you before that there are a number of different variables. So the variables include your draft. So if your brisket, if your pit drafts well, then you really don't need to worry so much about the temperature, because when you cook brisket, it's always a toss-up between what I call crisping the brisket. You guys know crisping? Crisping means that the airflow is very, very fast on the brisket.
Uh-huh.
So the faster the airflow on your brisket, the faster you will crust. That's why you notice that in Texas, right? A lot of people in Texas, they cook with offsets. So they like the offsets because the offset has a very fast, what you call convection current. So that's why it's so popular in Texas. So I hate to give you an answer. It depends.
Yeah.
My recommendation is when you cook brisket, don't cook it using my recipes of being an automaton. Cook it right and watch it, learn what's happening onto your brisket, and then adjust accordingly. Because if the pit is drafting well, then you really don't need to do so much. But if the pit is not drafting well, then you got to do something because the brisket will not come out right.
Okay. Yeah, I'm using a pit controller, so.
Yeah, pit controller is fine. Like I said, right, the key also is to make sure that the what do you call draft is good. So the idea is that you really want to dry out your brisket first. That's the secret to cooking good brisket. And after you dry out the brisket, you really don't want too much airflow because if you have too much airflow, right, the brisket will crisp up too fast unless you wrap it. So it's kind of a delicate balance of the two that you have to make sure that you don't end up over crisping your brisket. You don't end up over moisturizing your brisket. Does it make sense what I said? If your pit is too wet, right, or your airflow is too low, you're actually playing with a number of different factors. You're playing with a situation of drafting, which is convective airflow, or how much what do you call airflow you have in your pit. You're playing with how much moisture is in your pit, and you're also playing with like the temperature you're cooking with. So that's why I enjoy cooking barbecue, because it's never the same. You really have to be on your toes, and you cannot just assume that everything will be right. You have to constantly watch over what you're doing, because you have to make sure that the crust comes out right. Can you guys see this?
Yeah, that looks amazing.
Yeah, it looks great.
Red salsa. This is morita and puya salsa. Everything is handmade.
Wow.
Hey, Harry, going back to what you were mentioning about drafting, like if you have something like, I've got a 14.5 Weber Smokey Mountain, which, I mean, even at 250, 275, I mean, there's not a lot of air going through that thing. Even my 22 Weber kettle, I mean, how can you really adjust airflow? Because if you increase the airflow, it's just going to get hotter, or, I don't know.
So if you set up your WSM as I do, you have one what do you call vent open at the bottom. I don't one vent open on top. You pour along very nicely. So
Right.
the nice thing about the Weber Smokey Mountain is it's set up to be like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right here. Okay, let's see here. Right here. There we go.
How long did you cook the meat for, Harry?
This one I smoked it first, and I'm gonna be posting the recipe for you guys. I'm gonna try to have to edit it still, and trying to make sure that I can get all the little explanations built in, because this is a fairly elaborate dish here, because it involves smoking meat, involves slow cooking meat, and then it involves making the sauce. I love chili, so this took a little while to make the chili. So, all right. So back to your question, right? Okay, we're talking about drafting on a Weber equipment. So all Weber grills draft differently, and fire management, temperature control, moisture control, and how fast the convective airflow flows through your pit is of paramount importance. So if you have different cooking styles, you just need to make sure that you manage those 3 or 4 parameters well. When you have crusting that you want, right? Intuitively, let me ask a question to everybody. Does your crust or bark form better when the pit is dry or wet?
When it's dry.
When it's dry. So you want to have hot air, hot smoky air, during the first stage of your brisket cook, which is when you start until the crust begins to form. Make sense? After you form the crust, what are you guys supposed to do?
Well, in order to get it tender, you're supposed to wrap it.
Exactly. So once you wrap it, is it better dry or wet? Inside the foil or the butcher paper?
It's a little moist.
A little moist, because you're actually doing something called braising. Have you guys heard a word called braising? You guys know what braising is?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, braising is cooking meat, right? Kind of in a wet environment, right? So you just have to make sure that you wrap it in foil. Do you guys know the difference between wrapping in foil and wrapping in butcher paper? You guys know the difference?
I guess in foil you would not form a bark or get rid of the bark. In butcher paper, you can form a bark even after you wrap it.
The answer is no. You form the bark before wrapping. So the very common mistake I see many people make, including my students, when they send me pictures of their cook after my class, is that they did not successfully apply the scratch test. I told you guys before many times that once you set the crust, for example, like here, right, the crust is set. So this thing here, right, I'm not going to get any rub on my fingernail. So this meat has been set. So the key to really cooking is to make sure you set the crust. After you set the crust, the bark itself is set. So the bark will not fall off, regardless of whether you use butcher paper or you use foil. It's a 3-hour argument and Jerry Springer fist fight. When people tell you that it's one way is better than the other. Okay, so here's my take on it. It kind of depends on what you want to do. Did you guys see my Snow's barbecue series?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool. And when I was doing research for that episode, I haven't eaten a snow, so please take what I tell you with a grain of salt, right? I defer to my friends. I have a lot of friends in Texas, like Baby Back Maniac, T. Roy Cooks, James Pavia from Amen and Clam. So they've gone and eaten the snows. And I shot my video based on intel I received from them, what I saw on YouTube, and what I read on different articles. Do you guys know what time Tootsie starts cooking on Friday night?
I saw a documentary on Netflix about her. It said like 1 a.m. or something.
Okay, yeah. So what time does she open?
8 o'clock, I think they said.
Okay, so for those of you who cook brisket, do you kind of notice something's wrong?
That's a short cook.
Yes. So how can they cook a brisket so fast?
They cook it hot.
They cook it hot, yes. So you see, now that you guys are my students, right? You begin to notice things, right? As you hone your craft, that don't look at something just based on it's what you see, right? Ask yourself, right? Hey, you're watching this show and somebody's saying something. I always tell people, don't believe anything you see, including believing me. Don't believe me, okay? I want to teach you how to know. Knowing and believing, knowing is so much more credible than believing. Because believing means that you listen to somebody, you follow somebody, but you didn't try it yourself. So I always tell people, the only way you can get good in cooking barbecue is you have to cook it. If you don't shoot your 10,000 3-pointers, you ain't gonna be like LeBron, okay? So when you watch my videos, and even my students who take my class, I always tell them, you gotta cook. There's no way around it. So coming back to Tootsie, she puts her meat in on Friday night. I think that her first crew puts the meat in around 10-ish. And then somehow the restaurant opens at 8 o'clock and everything is fine. Now, you know that if you put in your meat and you had a breakfast party at 8 o'clock, you'll be really in a panic because your brisket may not be ready by 8 a.m. It's not even rested by 8 a.m., much less being cooked, right? So if you watch Tootsie's videos, or you watch videos of Tootsie's barbecue shot by other YouTubers, did you notice the size of the brisket? Anybody? You guys notice size?
They look really small.
Ah, bingo. See, you guys are like eagle eye observers. So I'm teaching you guys how to think and how to figure out your way to become a brisket whisperer. All right, I'm going to teach you guys how to become a brisket whisperer. That helps reinforce what I'm trying to teach you is that don't just follow my recipes or any other YouTubers' recipes just by the face value. I want you guys to know why. The how is not important. The what is not important. It is the why. A lot of people tell me that they find my class style interesting and helpful because I always explain the underlying food science behind what's happening. So you notice that Tootsie's briskets, when she cuts it on the cutting table, are all tiny. You want to guess like how many pounds they're what size they are at?
Probably about 8 pounds each.
Okay, yeah, 8 or 9 pounds. They almost look like just a point by itself. It was amazing how small they were.
Yeah. Wait, by the way, has anybody on this call eaten at Tootsie's?
No.
No? Okay, all right. So you guys have not eaten at the #1 rated barbecue restaurant?
No, never been to Texas.
Never been to Texas. Okay, you have to go to Texas. There's at least, 1,000 crazy good barbecue joints. Mm-hmm. And, you gotta, before your life is over, I always tell people, you gotta make a trip and eat some good barbecue. Not just Texas. There's great barbecue all over America. You can go to California and get good barbecue. You can go to Arizona. I have friends all around different states. You can go to East Coast, Florida. It's all good. You just need to know who to go to eat. And, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. So, hey, Winnie, thanks for joining. So you guys notice that she cooks 8-pound briskets. And the reason for that is because she gets off work on Friday and then her crew starts up the brisket process on Friday night. And then she comes in around 2 a.m. after taking a nap. And then she does her chicken and sausage and ribs and everything, right? Now, so that's one important thing. So the size of the brisket matters because that is used to manage your cooking duration. The other thing is what did she wrap her brisket with? You guys notice?
It was just foil.
Yeah. Why did she not use butcher paper?
It cooks faster in foil, doesn't it?
Yes, exactly. So you guys are learning some food science because these are the tricks that we use to create a championship result. If she had wrapped in butcher paper, even though the brisket was small, it's unlikely that she would be ready to serve by 8 a.m. So if you are doing the restaurant business or catering business, you have to take into account these black belt tips. Size of the brisket matters, airflow matters, moisture content of your pit in different stages of cook on the brisket matter, and also what wrapping material you use. So as far as wrapping is concerned, butcher paper takes longer because paper doesn't have something. I'm gonna throw a little bit of science at you, so don't panic. It's called infrared reflectivity. Do I have any like engineering people on this call, like engineers or scientists, physicists? Okay.
I was an engineering student, not anymore.
Okay, so you studied what do you call it? The electromagnetic spectrum, right? So in short, everything in this universe is vibration, including the subatomic particles, the atomic particles, the molecules. You and me, we're all vibrational things, right? So light is a form of electromagnetic radiation that kind of has a frequency. It's called the visible frequency range. That's why you have the rainbow colors, right? Now, after the rainbow color, you have a range called heat, called infrared. So whenever you walk by in Costco and they have the heat lamp on, right? And then you walk by, you can feel the heat lamp hit you in the face, even though you see no light. That's because the light is infrared reflectivity. And that's what happens when you use foil. Do you notice that the foil has a dull side and a shiny side?
Right.
So given that heat is a form of light in the spectrum of the infrared frequency range, where you cannot see the light, but you can feel the electromagnetic radiation in the infrared spectrum, foil is reflective. So the foil has a dull side and a shiny side, right? So if you wrap your brisket, will there be a difference between shiny side in or dull side in?
If you want it to be faster, I would guess the shiny side would be in to reflect the internal, I guess, infrared maybe?
Exactly. So if you want to cook like hot and fast for a restaurant or catering, cook a small brisket, run a lot of airflow, crust quickly, wrap in foil, shiny side in, cook it around 275-ish, and you will be fine, okay? So that's a recap of her methodology using science to explain what Tussie does. She may not be aware of the science behind what results in her winning the first place award in Texas, but that's some of the science behind it. So you don't have to believe a single word I say. I want you guys next time when you cook brisket, try some of these ideas out. Try a small brisket, try a fast airflow, try to wrap in butcher paper, try to wrap in foil, try to wrap with shiny side up versus dull side up, and see if anything we discussed this morning is true. And you'll prove to yourself and you become a much better cook. That make sense?
Hey, Harry, how did that mop taste on that brisket?
It was good. I mean, the brisket was superb. I don't know if I could taste the mop at the end because it was so, it was so much later. But the Beans, we're having a Zoom call. Okay, relax. I'll get you some. Okay, let me give you a piece of meat here. He's what do you call doesn't want me to keep talking, I guess. Hang on, give him a piece of meat here. But keep you quiet, Beans. Okay, here we go. Okay. You like it? Little flank steak? Yeah. Okay. All right. So, Birria tacos. I guess I should eat some of it now since I haven't had breakfast. For those of you who are at home, grab something to drink, grab something to eat. So I'm going to try the normal Birria first, and this is the Vampiro, and then this is the Molitas. Molita is more like a quesadilla style. I like lemon on my. So you pick it up carefully. So take out the consomme like that. Do the dip. And let's try to eat without making too much of a mess. Wow. You guys have no idea how good this is. Absolutely amazing. So you never had a dip taco? It's something definitely to write home about. You're trying to get an idea of what to cook for Memorial Day. Oh, hang on. Somebody sent me a chat question. Can somebody do me a favor? Somebody jump onto the chat and read the question. I'm trying to eat.
She said something about her mic on her phone or something.
Okay, somebody's having a problem with the mic on the phone. Why don't you guys just type it back to them saying, ask on the chat, and you guys read me the question, and I'll try to answer. This one is it's a vampiro. Vampiro means that it's toasted. It's a crispy, like a tostada stuff. Dip it here. It's like a cheesy, kind of like a crispy taco. Pretty good. I used a beef shank today, so beef shank has a kind of like a fattiness, a little bit of gelatinous texture to it. Super delicious. Okay, so the last one is the molitas. Molitas is kind of like a quesadilla. It's 2 layers of tortilla. Well, I'm gonna eat this. Let me tear it apart here. All right, so this is how it looks like. You can see, you can see that here. All right, dip it some consomme here. Wow. Super messy, but good. All right. Quality assurance test passed. Was the person able to ask a question on the chat I can answer?
They asked if you could only pick one on butcher paper or foil.
Okay, I would pick foil. Why? Because I like to do competition style food, right? So you see me shoot a lot of like Texas style barbecue because my viewers seem to want to see that. But in all honesty, side by side, if I cook a comp brisket versus a Texas style salt and pepper, the comp wins in my book every day. Because even though Texas style S&P is good, when you cook a comp brisket, the complexity with the injection, the multi-layers, multiple ingredient rubs, in my opinion, tastes a lot better. So a lot of my friends who own restaurants in Texas they won't admit this, but they don't cook S&P all the time. They cook it with their own competition style rub. And I know that S&P and post oak is all the rage in Central Texas. I always tell people, don't take my word for it. You see my recipes, go back and cook both. Cook a comp style injection and a multi-ingredient rub, and cook a S&P style. See which one you like. Some days when I wake up in the morning and I want brisket, a Texas style is appealing to me. About 20% of the time. The other 80% of the time, I would tend towards a comp style, fully, pedal to the metal type brisket. So that's my preference. So to answer your question, I use foil because foil tenderizes, in my opinion, faster. I'm not after that whole 3-hour Jerry Springer argument about the bark. And people say, oh, well, foil will soften the bark. Honestly, if you cook a good brisket, your bark already set. So the bark's not going to fall off because it's actually the Maillard reaction, which is the non-enzymatic pyrolysis of amino acids. So that's a mouthful to say. So just remember, I taught you guys, when the crust equals flavor, crust is good. No crust, no flavor, bad. That's as simple as I can make it. So you can crust your brisket, right? Even with no seasoning, because you can form the pellicle and then you can get a little bit of Maillard reaction because there is protein. That's why we spray water. The water is very important. Moisture control is very important. The convective current, the draft or the draw is very important. The kind of wood you use is very important. And then, of course, the BTU is BTU. So you got to get your BTU done. That's why a lot of my friends who run restaurants, they're able to get a good result cooking on a what do you call it? A gas pit that has logs in it. So you guys heard of Southern Pride? You guys heard of Old Hickory? Right? So those kinds of pits really do work, and you can get a fantastic result. You just have good skill. I told you guys before many times, it's never about the equipment. It's always about the pitmaster. Never about the cooker. It's always the cook that matters. Like I said, a lot of my counterparts, my friends, they can outcook me. All they need is a shovel, some chicken wire, and a hole in the ground. They will outcook me, no problemo, because they have a lot of skill. So I still have to resort on using, metal equipment. But they say, Harry, I'll take a shovel and battle you any day and beat you. And I throw up the white flag. I say, yes, how much, because the more you learn about cooking barbecue, like me, the more I learn how little I know about cooking. All right, whoever just joined, we have quite a few people now on. I want to, welcome everybody here again. David, Fernando, Marco, Carlos, Casey, Mike, Winnie, okay? So you guys are all muted. So you guys want to ask questions, please do. Okay, I think we're having some microphone. I can hear some screeching my microphone prompts. Maybe you can type in the chat and somebody can read me the question. Mr. Beans is insisting he wants more food here. Do you want more food? He's been jumping on me. I'm trying to talk, right? And he's keep bumping my chair here. Here we go. Like it? So that's the beef shank. You like it better or do you like the flank steak better? You like them both? You like them both, right? I think he likes them both. All right, so, okay. Somebody asked another question. Okay, does beans come with you when you cook comps? Okay, Casey. Beans does not come with me at comps. They don't kind of really allow animals in contests. I cook a lot in California, and they have something called the health department. You guys may not be aware, but when you go to a contest, the organizers must submit a permit to the health department, and the health department does come around because you are serving food to the judges. And in contests, we usually sell our food to donate to charity. So you can come to a contest where I'm at and eat my $280 Snake River Farm Wagyu for $2. So tip for all people, my patrons, if you want to eat my competition style like Snake River, go to a contest and you can get the sample all the food. We usually sell it to the charity, and then it's $2 for a ticket, and then you get $1 to cover your food costs, and then you donate $1 to charity. That's kind of how a lot of contests in California are set up. Because of the health department rules, they don't really allow animals, even though I know, those knuckleheads will, of course, violate the rules. People bring their entire farm with them, and that's okay. But technically, you're not supposed to. And now also, besides, if you bring a little dog, there's a live fire going around, it's always a danger, especially also young children. I always tell people, if you want to go to a barbecue contest, you bring young children, please be very careful. Because I personally have witnessed accidents with little kids who come around. Dad wanted to go cook a barbecue contest, brought the entire family, brought their little baby and little kids along, and then the little kids are playing around their pits and fire, and then you have an accident, and that's not cool. So I just want to do a shout out for you, those who might be considering competing, and you want to bring your whole family along. I'm trying to move the food inside. The flies are out in a vengeance right now. So let me while I'm talking, I can move stuff around. Yeah, who has to ask the next question? Yeah, it's also about at least 100, maybe 100 degrees or more now outside, so it's a little cooler in the house here. Thank goodness for the invention of the air conditioner. So, any topic you guys want me to recap? Any area you want me to answer questions? I'll be happy to do that. Just let me know.
I think Casey had a question about a pork injection.
Okay, I flashed through the screen. Can somebody read the question to me, please, from Casey?
She says she's looking for a simple butt injection. Pork
Okay,
butt injection.
Pork butt. Pork butt injection is salt. You guys remember what I taught you guys in terms of how much salt is necessary to make an injection? Anybody remember? Recap of class. Okay, let me give you guys a clue. How salty is the ocean?
When was this
8%
class?
salinity.
I feel that's the instructor.
I just joined, so I don't know.
Okay. Okay. So after 300 videos, I failed. Okay. All right. So
8%.
All right, so 8%. Okay, cool. So let me just back up a little bit. Okay. Back up a little bit. When you use an injection, you are primarily focused on accomplishing two objectives. One is to allow the meat to retain moisture. And number two, allow the meat to have saltiness. All right, so let's answer the saltiness question. That's an easier one. Beans, I'm trying to talk on Zoom and you keep jumping on me for more food here. Let me give you another piece here. Keep quiet here. He's saying that you should be talking, you should be feeding me. Let me give him a piece of the flank steak here. Here, sit. Okay, all right. Please be quiet for a little bit. I need to answer questions, right? So when it comes to saltiness, I'm sure that most of you on this call have tasted ocean water, right? I hope so. I have to ask. Okay,
Yes.
I'm not hearing it. Yes.
Yes.
Right. Nobody said no. The reason I asked is because when I try to explain this, right, some of my students actually come from states that have no salt water. And when I say, have you ever tasted salt water? They look at me like, no, I haven't tasted salt water. I don't live near the ocean. So I always tell them after my class in Diamond Bar, please drive down to Santa Monica Pier and go down to the beach and the water and taste the ocean water. Because you got to calibrate your tongue, Casey. So the first thing you want to do is taste ocean water. Ocean water is around 3.5% salinity. So it's kind of like approximately 3.5 pounds of salt dissolved into 100 pounds of water. That is the saltiness of the ocean. Why is that important to use? Because I want to teach you to learn how to cook, right? Using the most powerful tools you have, including your hands, your knowledge, and then your eyes, and then your taste buds. I find that through 10,000 hours of Q&A and R&D and everything with injections, about twice ocean water is about right. So you imagine ocean water twice as salty. That would take you into the 7-8% salinity range. And that is the range of saltiness that you should have in your injection. So going back to Casey's question on pork butt, the first element of the equation is salinity. So now I answer the question. So make some salt water, around twice the salinity of ocean water. And then you can taste it. So you're going to make it, right? Mix it, the salt. You don't even have to use any measurement. I always teach people to experiment. Take some water, put some salt in it and stir, and then taste. Put some salt, stir, and taste. Get it to a point where you have calibrated it to be about ocean water. And you guys have tasted ocean water, so you know how that tastes. And then look at the amount of salt you use. Let's say you use 1 tablespoon, you use half a tablespoon or whatever, just double that. Right? And then that way you can get yourself to about 6 to 7% salt and then taste it, burn that flavor in your brain. Now that your tongue is calibrated, you can make injections now. And you can make injections for chicken, you can make injections for pork, you can make injections for brisket. Once you accomplish the saltiness level of the injection, the next thing is to add additional flavor. So if you're shooting up a pork butt, right? What flavors do you think will work with pork butt? Now, if I use beef base in a pork butt, your brain is going to say, yeah, that's probably not optimum. But if you use a pork base with that salty solution, then your brain says, yeah, you're getting there. If you use a sweet fruit base like peach, you use a sweet fruit base like apple, you use chicken broth. Your brain's gonna say, yeah, that's pretty good. So component 1, salt. Component 2 is some kind of a meat flavor if you choose to have meat flavor, because you cannot cook a vegetarian pork butt. Did I just say that? Vegetarian pork butt? All right. The third thing is your fruity flavor that matches your meat. For example, most people will not put apple juice in their brisket, but you can if you want to. And then the last component, the fourth component of making injection is called sodium phosphate. Have you guys heard of sodium phosphate before? How many of you have eaten a chicken McNugget? Raise your hands. Right? I'm sure a lot of you would raise your hand if you had eaten a chicken McNugget. So sodium phosphate is a very common food additive used in commercial food production. It is called a plumping agent. Did I just say plumping? Is there such a word? Plumping agent? So anyway, it the way I see it, it plumps up your meat because it causes ionic repulsion among the microfibrils of protein in your meat. So you need a little bit of sodium phosphate if you have it. Now, if you don't have it, don't sweat it. Let me see if I can find sodium phosphate here. Show you guys how it looks like. All right, here's sodium phosphate. My buddy Dave Buska from Butcher Barbecue, he sells this. This is a very inexpensive, very cheap food additive. So you can, I mean, they buy this in the thousands of tons in the industry. So when McDonald's makes the McNuggets, they probably buy several tons of this product. It's just white powder. It's like cocaine, you know, like this, right? Look at that. And what sodium phosphate does is it's the plumping agent. Now, this is optional. You don't need sodium phosphate if you don't have it. Using salt, water, some kind of juice of your choice, and a little bit of meat flavoring is going to do the job. So you can make an injection with 3 ingredients. If you have sodium phosphate, make it with 4 ingredients. And then, of course, if you are like me and you're too lazy, what do you go and do? You go buy something that somebody else had made. So let me go show you guys what I have here. Give you a couple of examples here. So these are examples of injections. And this one is a Big Papa, my buddy Sterling. He makes a product for pork. Tim does one for beef, and also very good. A lot of teams in Texas. Apparently, I heard all the rage is they're using this product to win first place in IBCA contest. So they all have the same 3 or 4 same components for the sodium phosphate, some kind of yeast base, and of course, I didn't mention the very controversial ingredient. Can anybody guess what controversial ingredient I didn't mention?
MSG.
Bingo! Let me show you my MSG.
Hey, Harry, can you talk on that MSG just a little bit, the ins and outs, or why it's so controversial?
How many hours do you have? So MSG is the other flavor enhancer that you have in there. All right. So let's recap. Salt, a little bit of meat flavoring, a little bit of juice, a little bit of sodium phosphate, and a little bit of flavor additive. So this is a form of flavor additive that, hang on a second here. So my pantry is like a Frankenstein lab. I have 150 spices in there. So let me explain to you guys short version of this, so it doesn't take too long here. It's already 10 o'clock, so we ran an hour already. All right, everybody. You guys know what this is?
Kelp, seaweed.
Bingo. This is kombu. Kombu is seaweed from the ocean, found off California also. So if you guys don't go Monterey this Labor Day weekend, try to, harvest some of that kelp. I don't know. Are you allowed to do that? Wait, I better retract that. I don't want to get you in trouble, okay? But if you go and dry your kelp, this is how it looks like. Do you see a white stuff on it? Everybody can see white stuff on it?
Yes.
You see white stuff?
Yeah.
You can see, right? Okay, want to guess what that is?
So
Sodium.
Monosodium glutamate.
MSG.
MSG. So when you go and drink your miso soup in the Japanese restaurant, you see green stuff floating in your soup. That's seaweed. That seaweed has a little bit of this white powder. So Professor Ikeda in the University of Tokyo in 1908 decided to find out what the hell is this white powder here, because Japanese have been using it for thousands of years, cooking stews and soups, because it made their soups and stews very tasty. And he was trying to find out how to help the poor people in Japan, because all the poor people in Japan could afford was to eat rice and salt, and they didn't have any money to buy meat. So his original research objectives was to do something altruistic, to see if he could find out what is this thing that makes soups taste so good. And he coined the term umami. You guys heard the word umami before? Umami
Yes.
is deliciousness. Right? So you have basically sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and then you have umami. This was discovered by Professor Ikeda in the 1908. What it is that it is actually a chemical. So he isolated this white powder, he analyzed it, and he found it to be the sodium salt of glutamic acid. So I don't know how many of you on my call are chemical engineers or remember your high school chemistry, but you guys heard of something called amino acid. Amino acid is what is amino acid? Why do we always check for amino acids on the Mars rover? Why do we always check for amino acids on comets and asteroids? We land our spacecraft on them. Anybody want to guess? Amino acids are the building blocks of life. Without amino acids, carbon-based life forms cannot exist. So why is that important and relevant to this conversation, you might be asking? Is because when you mix the sodium chloride, which is salt, NaCl, combined with the glutamic acid, you have a white powder, monosodium glutamate. Now, I'm going to ask you guys a very personal question, so please don't get offended. How many of you watching on my call now were breastfed and raised on your mother's breast milk? You raise your hands.
Right here.
That was the first taste you had in this world. And people don't like me saying that, and I'm just going to say it anyway, because you guys are my patrons, we're friends. So if I say this out on YouTube, I get hell from the people on YouTube. How can you say such a thing? It's disgusting. No, it's not disgusting, because the human mother, their breast milk has about that much more of this in their breast milk than the next mammal in the animal kingdom. So in terms of all the mammals in the animal kingdom, mammals, Homo sapien female, when they are breastfeeding their baby, they have the 6 to 8 times higher level of MSG than any other mammal in the animal kingdom. Why is that? Your taste receptor in your mouth. Does anybody know how many taste receptors you have? Nobody? Okay. How many is that? Can you see the number? Okay, so remember that. Harry taught you. You have 8,000 taste receptors. I'm trying to train you guys how to become black belt pitmaster. The first thing you need to know is you need to understand what is the tool that you're going to be a black belt pitmaster. You need your taste buds. Okay, you got 8,000 taste buds in your mouth, not just your mouth, but your throat, upper roof. So when you taste food, like I'm a certified barbecue judge, when I eat a piece of meat, I have to chew it to let the saliva circulate the molecules of the flavor all over my mouth, including my throat, swallow, and then make a decision. You cannot chew and write down your results of what the flavor profile is, because your complete tasting apparatus in your mouth is comprised of 8,000 different taste buds spread all over your mouth. Now, the idea of the monosodium glutamate is that your taste receptor binds with MSG. It sends a signal to your brain, and the brain says, wow, that tastes really good. That's why how many here have tasted ocean fish versus land fish? Hopefully you guys have tasted ocean fish. I'm going to say it as yes, right? Everybody's waving to me. Okay, so you guys know this, right? That ocean creatures like lobsters and shrimp, they usually taste better, or like salmon from the ocean taste better than freshwater fish. You guys ever wonder why?
Because of the saltiness of the water?
Because of MSG. So what did I say earlier about the saltiness of the ocean? Anybody remember what I said earlier? What was the salinity of the ocean?
3.5.
Good. What is the salinity of your blood in your body?
No idea.
Do I have any medical doctors, nurses on this call here, please?
No idea. Probably.
No idea. Okay. All right. Okay. So just for the record, I hate to be like a Dr. Fauci, but apparently I'm trying to explain to you guys the ins and outs. Now, your body, right, has 1% salinity. Have you guys tasted your blood before? I mean, I'm sure, right? Okay, I just don't want to be gross here, but I'm sure among my audience, you guys have tasted your own blood. I'm sure. Now, you notice your blood is salty, right? So your blood is 1% salinity because most creatures on Earth need salt because salt is like an electrolyte. It allows your electrical transmission in your body between the brain and so on for the electrons to fire and connect to the different nervous systems in your body. So you need salt. So the bottom line is, Harry told you you need 1% salt in your body. Most creatures on Earth have 1% salt. So if you live in the ocean and you are living in an environment surrounded by 3.5% of salt and your body is 1% of salt, what will happen?
Osmosis.
You will die, basically. You will be poisoned by the ocean because the ocean salt will diffuse into your body and kill you because your body cannot function at 3.5%. Your body can only function at 1%. And that is true for all sea creatures. So Mother Nature had a very ingenious way of having life live in the ocean because you guys know that life began in the ocean 650 million years ago. And that life in the ocean gradually migrated over to the land. And then you and I showed up about 200,000 years ago. Okay, our ancestors included the Homo erectus, Homo habilis, the Denisovans, all the way to Australopithecus in Africa in about 4 million years. You guys heard of Lucy, right? Lucy. So Lucy was the evolution of us. Now, creatures in the ocean received a gift from Mother Nature. In order for creatures in the ocean to live in a 3.5 solution of salt and not die, even though their internal body solution is 1%, is that Mother Nature provided them something called a buffer. You guys heard of buffer? Anybody remember the high school chemistry? Anybody? No? Okay, buffer means that the glutamic acid buffers the liquid so that the salt will not penetrate the tissue, allowing the creature to survive. That is the reason why when you eat a sea creature, it tastes better than a land creature because of the levels of glutamic acid. So glutamic acid is used by creatures in the ocean to buffer the osmosis or the diffusive intake of salt into the muscle and tissue of that animal. So that's a kind of a long story explanation of what it is. The bottom line is that the MSG in the purified form reacts with the taste buds in your mouth to send a signal to your brain that it tastes really good. So if you ever had cheese dripping on your burger, that is MSG. If you ever had marinara sauce, spaghetti sauce, and you wonder why that spaghetti is so tasty, because tomatoes are chock full of this product. Okay. If you ever had Parmesan cheese, you ever had soy sauce, fish sauce, it's called by many, many different names. So every time you look at the label, it's in McNuggets, it's in Doritos, it's in many, many products. Okay, so that's what MSG is. Will it kill you? Yes, it'll kill you. Why? When you feed 50 cups of Starbucks to the rat and the rat dies, is Starbucks bad? I don't know. When consumed in the right quantity, nothing is a poison. So a lot of people who don't follow science, they follow what I call urban myths. They will happily eat a McNugget, eat KFC. But when they see this thing here, they scold you for using MSG because they don't really know what it is. Now, having said that, do people have sensitivity to MSG? Of course. I mean, people are sensitive to water. People are sensitive to open spaces. I'm sure somebody will complain that I cook meat. God forbid, we should all be vegans, right? So once you have the science and the knowledge, make your own informed decision, okay? So that's a long story about MSG.
Hey, Harry. Yeah, I'm one of those people that has that sensitivity. It's always racked my brain about MSG. If it's in its artificial form or like, Chinese food, things like that, I can't eat it. But if it's, natural umami out of, mushrooms and, onions, stuff like that, I'm fine. I don't know what it is that I guess the artificial form just doesn't work for me.
Now, do you have a problem eating KFC?
Yes, because I'm also allergic to dairy. So they use dairy in the batter. So, that doesn't work for me.
What about the McNuggets?
I haven't eaten that since I was a kid. I wasn't allergic when I was a kid. I became allergic to MSG in my early 20s. And I became allergic to milk in my late teens, like before high school.
Okay. Yeah. So you have a lot of sensitivity. And my recommendation is stay away from anything that your body says is not good for you. Listen to your body. Your body is a very, very finely tuned machine. And if your body says that this is not good for me, stay away. I always tell people to do that. What you might want to know also is that MSG, right? This thing is also used in your brain. So MSG is a neurotransmitter. So the way your neurons fire, your synapses in your brain, the mechanism that they use is they use glutamic acid. So I always say that everybody's allergic to something. That's going to be the case. And if you are allergic, some people, they get dizzy if they eat too much seafood. I have people who are allergic to seafood. They cannot eat any lobster or shrimp because of high levels of MSG. And then it makes them kind of dizzy and disoriented sometimes because of the overload of the glutamic acid. And because they have a sensitivity and glutamic acid is a neurotransmitter, there are always potential side effects. So you're absolutely right. Eat something in small quantity. If you don't feel good, stop eating it, because that's how our species survive, right? We evolved to be the most potent and powerful species on Earth, Homo sapiens, because we were very adaptive and we knew how to make sure that when we taste something, it's not good, we don't eat it anymore. So always follow your instinct. Stay away from foods that your body does not like.
Yeah, I'm just thankful that I can still experiment. I don't need an EpiPen or anything like that, but I start getting this weird reaction in the back of my throat. I have trouble swallowing stuff. I can breathe fine and everything. It's more of a feeling. It's really strange. So I can still try some food and I'll be like, oh, this has either MSG or dairy. I'm just not going to eat it.
So a way to do that is to test your hypothesis is that go to the Japanese store and buy some dried kelp. And then rinse it in hot water. And then take 1 teaspoon of that water after you rinse the kelp in hot water. That way the white powder here is dissolved into the liquid, which is how dashi is made. So dashi is made with this and dashi is made with this. Have you guys heard of this katsuobushi? So when you have a maki roll in a Japanese restaurant and that little curly little wood chips that they put onto your roll, this is what it is. So this is katsuobushi, which is the shavings of the fermented dried bonito. So bonito is a tuna. And this is something that you also want to try. These are very potent flavor enhancers. MSG, iocyanate. Okay. Any questions to MSG? I hopefully scared you to death or educated you to death. I'm not sure. One of the two.
I have a question not related to MSG. Earlier you spoke about the cooker that commercial restaurants use, the Southern Pride. And then what was the other brand?
Okay. So if you're writing this down, look up Southern Pride. Look up Old Hickory, OLE Hickory. Look up JR Manufacturing.
JR Manufacturing, okay.
And those are the what I call the electric ones. Traeger also makes one, and I think GMG also makes a kind of electric pit for commercial. The oilers around 50,000. So that the JR Manufacturing is very expensive, but that is like the big Kahuna pit. It's been around since the 1950s. There are thousands of them around the world, and I've heard the story. Some of these oiler pits have not turned off for years, so they run for years and years and years. Let's see here. Of course, if you are in Texas, you probably need to talk about offsets.
Mm-hmm.
Are you into offsets, or you want an electric smoker for a commercial catering or restaurant use?
I don't know. I haven't decided, and I feel like, well, I live in Orange County, so really close to you. I haven't seen a barbecue restaurant that actually uses the offset, and I feel like maybe it could be a novelty, but also it's the hype right now too. So
yeah, you can, because in California, have you heard of something in California called the AQMD?
No.
Okay, AQMD. Anybody know what AQMD stands for?
Air quality something or other.
Air Quality Management Board. They are our local pollution Nazis. Okay. They will shut you down.
Yeah.
And then also, because we have 500 fires raging in California, anything that has open fire is frowned upon by the fire department. So it's going to be almost impossible for you to get a fire clearance. So I have some friends who are in Orange County who try to open barbecue restaurants in Orange County. It's a hell of a battle to get approval and permitting to run a commercial open fire pit. When I go to Texas, right, they have the fire burning and the little kid is walking beside the fire and nobody cares. Okay. Even I'm scared, the little kid, hey, that's a fire, kid, please be careful. But in California, it's a different story. There's a lot, too many lawyers. Maybe the joke is too many. I didn't mean to offend any lawyers on my call, but it's a lot of legislation and regulation. Like I said, right, you go see my buddy, Kenny Tran, who owns the #1 barbecue restaurant in Orange County called The Smoking Rib in Westminster. Go see Kenny, say that you are, a friend of mine, and you can ask him the battle he had to fight to get a old hickory into his restaurant. So when you walk into his restaurant, first thing you see is wood. The second thing you see is old hickory. Then you see the serving counter. So he was my student, and I told you the story was he was the engineer who quit his job with 2 kids and a wife and decided that, Harry, took your class, I'm going to hang out my engineering job and then go become a pitmaster. So I told him, Kenny, are you crazy? You want to hawk your house and make a, go for broke move? But he's been successful, and I think he's going to be opening his second restaurant. So there you go. Many of us walk around the planet Earth with barbecue sauce in our veins. We just don't realize it.
Okay. Thank you, Harry. I'll look into this.
If you're doing catering, you can buy a cabinet smoker. There are many what I call cabinet level smokers. If you want convenience, a lot of restaurants run on pellets. Like I said, when you open a restaurant, you really got to be thinking about labor costs.
Yeah.
If you're doing it yourself and you are the labor, then the labor is kind of free. But if you're paying somebody with additive, about maybe minimum wage $15 an hour plus additive and other benefits, say you're paying about $23 an hour, you got to ask yourself, right? You're paying somebody $200 a day to help you.
Yeah.
And that $200 will eat into profits. Because unless you want to be up every night running an offset, even if you do like a pop-up in your backyard and you cook illegally, one of my buddies, he used to do the illegal, I forgot his name, but he runs the illegal underground restaurant using a stick burner at his house in LA. And he's now morphed into a restaurant, but he started his, humble beginning cooking with an offset in his backyard. And then he would post on Facebook to have people come and eat his food. And he grew his business that way. And then eventually some investor bought him out and built him a restaurant near the Staples Center. Judy Beckman, I think, if you research him, he's the underground barbecue guy in LA. Okay. You can do that. You can. That's a kind of an illegal path, but it's okay. The world is a risk, right? So you got to take a risk. There's 25 million people in 300 cities in Los Angeles, Orange County. So you can start up anything you want here. Look at me, right? I decided to, give my Patreon some barbecue, and I was sold out in 30 minutes. So sold a case of brisket in 30 minutes, on Patreon. So, you can also consider that. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I don't know if anybody of you still want my brisket. So let me know in the comments if you guys want me to do that. I'll take the hit for you guys and stay up all night on Friday, just like Tootsie does. For my love for you guys out there, I'll stay up all night and cook you guys some my competition style brisket.
Yeah, I would like some, Harry.
Okay,
I would love
all right.
it. Yeah.
I think the next round I gotta ration it because people are ordering too many pounds, right? And I feel like a lot of people were disappointed because somebody had like bought 3 briskets or 2 briskets or something for a party. Maybe what I should do is the next time I say, hey, you're limited to 2 pounds. Everybody can only get 2 pounds. That way, more of my patrons, and I know a lot of my patrons live in Los Angeles or within driving distance. They all want to try my food, and my food will be a good what I call calibration point, right? So if you eat my competition style food, you know where the level is. And then you can compare it against, Franklin, compare against your own cooking. And I always believe that the only way to know is to eat a yardstick. When I first got into barbecue and I went to enter my first contest in 2008, I told myself, I had no idea how good barbecue tastes like. Even though I went to school in Texas, I've eaten a lot of Texas barbecue. I had no idea what good California barbecue tastes like. So what I did was I drove to my friend's store in Northern California, and I drove 3-4 hours for lunch, and I ate at Kim's restaurant, and I tasted the barbecue, and I said, okay, so that's the standard I have to meet or exceed. So I always believe in life you have to kind of taste the standard and then see if you can surpass that, and that's the only way to make your product better. Because if you cook food at home and you give it to your friends and family, the food is free, the beer is free. What are they going to say? This is the best barbecue I ever had. So not exactly a fair evaluation. So unless you go to a contest and then you get your butt kicked, pun intended, a lot of restaurant chefs, they go to barbecue contests, they end up dead ass last. And then they wonder what happened, because cooking competition is brutal. You really have to be on your game to be able to win in a double blind judging contest against 100 teams.
Hey, Harry, so using a insulated cabinet smoker for catering would work here in California?
Yeah, there are many that are certified. I believe the FECs are certified, Fast Eddies. The Fast Eddies can cook a lot of meat. It's a cabinet smoker, like a refrigerator size smoker. It's I want to say about maybe $3,500 or $2,500 or something, and it runs pellets, and it's very efficient. You can cook a lot of food in it. I reckon maybe 40 slabs of ribs at a time. Probably maybe about 9, 10, 12 briskets at a time. Yeah. What is nice about a pellet cooker is got a fan. Remember I told you earlier about the draft, the draw, the convective current.
I actually wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, that is vitally important in a smoker, because it is the draw or the draft or the convective current that creates the magic of barbecue. So you need basically hot, fast, smoky air with the right kind of wood smoke over your meat. If you can do that, right, it doesn't really matter what configuration you have. Like a offset pit, 1,000-gallon offset pit can do what, maybe, I don't know, like 15 briskets at a time or so. So, you just pick your poison. A lot of the rotisserie pits can cook a lot of food. That's why the Oilers, the GR manufacturing Oilers, the Southern Prides, and then the Old Hickories are extremely popular because they are rotisserie. So you can load a lot of meat in a very compact area. They're also UL listed so that you can run the drywall right up to the pit. It's not going to cause a problem. And these pits have a very, very good safety record. Safety is very important because they always joke, if you own a barbecue restaurant, it's just a matter of time before it catches on fire. So you just have to be very careful. All right, anyone have any more questions? We kind of ran over time, but 30 minutes. Hopefully this is helpful information to everybody. I'll pause a little bit, see if anybody has any final questions, and we can wrap it up so I can eat the rest of my birria tacos here.
One last question, Harry. We're talking about the Weber Smokey Mountain and the currents and stuff, and I know you don't use water in your pan. And I think you mentioned you don't want it to be too moist at the beginning. Is that why you just don't run the water pan and then just spritz it as you go?
Yeah, the short answer is I'm a control freak. So I want to control the level of moisture in my pit. I want my bark to crust as soon as I can without drying out the meat. I don't want to get into the evaporative cooling phase of the cook. I want to crust as soon as I can. That's why I'm a fan of what I call a hybrid cook. You guys heard of a hybrid cook? A hot and fast combined with low and slow. So I sometimes start my brisket.
You would start it slow and then kind of heat it up once it's foiled or something?
Okay. I'll start at 450.
Okay.
So I heat my pit up to 450, and I throw my meat in, and then the 20-pound thermal mass of that cold protein sucks up all the heat, and then the pit temperature drops rapidly from by 400 plus down to a comfortable 300-ish, and a lot of convective airflow, and get the crust to set quickly. And once the crust sets, right, you have already established the Maillard reaction. You really don't need to cook the pit in the pit anymore. Cook the brisket in the pit anymore. You can cook it wherever you have BTU. So if you decide you want to wrap and you want BTU to come from your charcoal, knock yourself out. I'm too cheap to do that. When I do BTU in my oven because it costs pennies to run my oven. Because once it's wrapped, the brisket doesn't know or doesn't care. So you can also do a hybrid cook. In most of my videos, I try to cook at a standard temperature because I don't want to confuse my viewers. A lot of my viewers who watch my channel, they're not hardcore pitmasters. So if I explain all these complicated concepts to them, they're going to end up clicking away to another channel. So I try to keep it as simple as I can to generate maximum results. In the classes I teach, and I'm going to be teaching Zoom classes soon, I try to teach you a simple, consistent method that's proven on 3,000 students, 250 classes the past 12 years. So I know how to teach you how to get a consistent championship result because I had so many of my students who told me over the years that, they have been able to achieve 0 to hero in one class. So with Zoom, right, I'm going to figure out how to do a Zoom class. So what I'm going to do is probably split the class into probably 2 classes. We'll do a Friday night class, teach you guys how to set up the thing, get the meat into the pit, and then continue the class on Saturday for another few more hours. So I'm actually trying to type out the details of how something like this would work because it's not going to be the same as an in-person class. And I also need to see if I need helpers because the camera is something that I have not yet figured out how to use well. And I may have to have 2 or 3 cameras so that you can see what's going on. Because if I keep moving the camera around, you end up getting seasick. All right, I'll pause for the last few questions. We're down to the last couple of minutes here. Anybody have any burning questions? So I hope that everybody is set up for Labor Day. If you guys, are going to try to cook something, you have questions about how to execute a cook, now's the time to ask so that I can set you on the road to success.
Hey, Harry, thanks for everything.
Yeah, not at all. If you guys enjoy these kinds of chat sessions, let me know when I post the video of this session. I'll edit it down to the relevant parts and then try to post it. It's an hour and a half long, so I'm not sure anybody will watch. But whoever missed the session and they are interested, I'll type out a quick outline of the topics we talked about because I think the MSG module, I'm not sure anybody's interested, but there could be some people who are interested in flavor enhancers and want to know more. I have the Birria episode that I'm editing right now. So when I finish editing the Birria video, I'll post it so you guys can see if you want to make a fabulous taco. I think of all the tacos I've eaten a lot of tacos in LA. This is by far one of my favorite tacos, primarily because of this magical thing. There's something about a beef dip. I don't care if I eat it at filet paste in LA, beef dip sandwiches, but anytime you dip any kind of food in a consomme or beef broth, it just takes it to the next level. And then you get some of the different kinds of chile that you put in. And I just love the way, the culture in South America, Mexican food and so on, the way they combine all of the flavors. Nothing that you eat is actually boring. So meat and potatoes are great, but when you get into this realm of all the exotic flavors, cumin, coriander, ginger, you got cinnamon, a little bit of nutmeg in it. It's absolutely, absolutely amazing. That's what I really like is to flex that creativity through cooking as an art form. Okay, so with that, we'll catch you guys in the next video. And everybody, please be safe during Labor Day. Remember what Dr. Fauci said, right? Crowds are not good. So please be careful out there, and hang out only with people you know are safe. Okay, cool. So we'll see you guys in the next video, guys.
Thank you, Harry.
Thanks a lot, Harry.
Have a great weekend.
guys.
Thank you.
Catch you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.